Well, hello there, my fellow rushers. How are you doing today? King Rex here. And today, we're gonna be reviewing another fan-made hero. This one was created by OkamaXD, and he created a fan-made hero for Kingdom Rush Frontiers. His name is Cinco, a tribal hero, and he looks pretty interesting. Now, we also have a reference image, but we're gonna show it by the end of the video because I don't want to get a sneak peek on his abilities because for some reason the reference image is at the bottom of the document, which it's a little bit of a weird choice for me, but all right, I guess people think differently. And yeah, let's get through the lore. It's not a lot. This is pretty much where it ends, where the lore ends, but it's still a nice amount of effort put in. Speaking of lore, a little bit of a side note. Recently I was able to complete another very long hero design of mine, and it turned out to be... it took me about an hour and a half to write to write it all, but it takes a long time to read through it, let's just say that. The story is very detailed. But we'll get to... but maybe sometimes I'll send it to another YouTuber to read it, but I'm not quite sure if he's willing to because... It is a long read. It's like a long version of a creepypasta in a way, but that's irrelevant. Now let's get to the lore of Cinco, the tribal hero. So, let's go. Cinco, who was born and raised in a cannibal tribe, has always been a weak guy who has been bullied by other children since he was a toddler. He spent time memorizing the spells while the other youngsters went to practice. He realized that strength is more than just muscle, and he began to consider using spells on himself to fight. Until one day, the sky turned gloomy but the clouds darkened, and began to shower down a weird liquid that had condensed into a swarm of terrifying monsters. With their keen hand, they began killing the people. Even the most powerful warriors were unable to do any damage on the beasts, and they eventually succumbed. He and the local shaman observed that magical strikes made the creatures weaker. As a result, the bloodbath came to a halt for a little period. The monsters, however, were alerted and attacked him and the shaman with ferocity. The eldest shaman cast an ancient magic on him in the dying moments of his life, and the price was immortality and his soul. When he awoke, he was he saw the dissolving creatures and the lying shaman on the ground in front of him. He and the remaining inhabitants moved to the old city of Makwa Ukra, or whatever you pronounce this name. I know it's a level in Kingdom Rush Frontiers, but I never learned how to pronounce this part right here. And established a new helmet. Too startled by what had happened to realize that this location was no longer secure. At here, or at there, I suppose, he learns that what has caused this is an ancient creature with God's powers. Knowing it, he must stop it before somewhere else suffers the same fate as his village. He has begun his journey with his team through many tough battles. His team has found it, the creature known as God. The battle between his team and it was extremely fierce. Knowing that, he have received a fatal wound, and that if this continues, they will all die. He decides to use the ancient spell again, but knows it will drive him insane and destroy everything around him. He decided to deal with this on his own, despite the disapproval of his teammates. He pulled it to the cave's bottom and began fighting it to the death. It worked, and he effectively locked it into the permafrost with himself, praying that it would never wake up again. After that, he was brought back and kept in the basement of Hammerhold and awakened by the Monk of Light, Diedre, to stop the creature again. But when he awoke, he lost all of his strength and was transformed into a kid. Now, with the help of Diedre, he on a journey to restore his power before it's too late. Alright, well, that's a little bit of an interesting story, you know, just a little bit of a lore to the hero and how he came to be. Pretty good one. Not the most, not the best as far as, you know, writing goes, but still, I don't care. It could be terrible writing. I just want the story to be good, and to me, the story seems pretty good. And also, we have a small fact: Sinkan and Diedre is a lover. I like that grammar. I would assume that they are lovers. A little bit weird, but alright, I guess an additional fact. This is a free hero unlocked at the level 1 of the campaign, so he's unlocked at the same time that Auric is unlocked. Nice. Here we have the statistics for the hero. So yeah, he made all the statistics from level 1 to level 10, but because this is not the original Kingdom Rush, we're gonna be looking mostly at the level 10 stats, but I do appreciate the extra effort there. So he has 360 HP, which is a little bit low, but okay. 58 regeneration per second though, that's definitely compensating the fact that he has a low HP, pretty good. 25 to 42 damage every second, I would assume physical damage, so that's about 33.5 or 33 to 34 average damage. Not bad. Speed is 3.0, which I think is a little bit faster than Oni. I think Oni has 2.7 movement speed, so he's a little bit faster than Oni. Alright. 40% armor, not bad. That's a total of 600 efficient HP if you combine the armor with his regular HP. And the respawn rate is a little bit weird. It starts off from 20 seconds, but then it goes up to 25 seconds. A little bit weird. I don't know why he has 25 seconds cooldown, he's a free hero, but maybe he has some outstanding qualities. So let's take a look into his skills. There you go. Mana Shield. Costs 1 and an additional 1 hero point. It's a passive ability. Due to a Master of Spell, he has an ability to emit mana to protect him and the allies from magic attacks. Emits an aura boosts 30, 45, and then 60% magical resistance to him and all ally unit in range. Alright, that's a pretty interesting use of magic resistance. Not only does he get magic resistance boost, but he also gives magic resistance boost to other nearby units. And they are in the area is pretty decent. Like, let's say the hero is like here, smack dab in the middle. You can affect quite a lot of units. Magic resistance though, that's a pretty interesting way of using it. I'm not quite sure how many enemies in Frontiers in particular do magical damage, but I would assume that having 60% magic resistance just like that is pretty dope. And if you think about it, he has more efficient HP against enemies that do magic damage than enemies that do physical damage, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, pretty good, pretty cool ability. Moving on. Let me just scroll up a little bit. Alright, I guess I'm gonna do it manually. Brutal Strike. So it costs 3, 4, and then additional 4 hero points. The cooldown is 7 seconds though, so that's good. Sinkan stabs his spear 3 times forward, dealing 120, 240, then 360 magical, physical, and true damage each time. If the enemy is killed, Sinkan will gain extra HP and damage to his stats. If it's a low tier enemy, which is under 500 HP, it will add 2 HP to his stats, or if it's a high tier enemy, which is above 500 HP, it will add 4 HP and 2 damage to his stats. Note, this ability can be stacked unlimited, alright, that's a very good ability. So it's a single target damage, but instead of it being just magic or physical or true damage, it's one of everything. So that's good. I mean, yeah, it will be virtually more useful if it was just true damage, but then again, for a 7 seconds cooldown, I can see why he did it. And it's pretty unique, you know, you rarely see heroes that do all type of damage. You don't see, tell me one hero that does magical, physical, and true damage with one ability. You can't? Yeah, because there's none of them. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I like the fact that you have a bunch of different types of damage with this ability. And because it has such short cooldown, he's gonna be killing a lot of enemies. And yeah, adding an additional 2 HP, so if he kills like 10 enemies, boom, 20 HP to his max stats. Now I'm not quite sure if it resets when he dies. He didn't specify that, so I would assume that whenever he dies, the stats reset to normal. So yeah, pretty interesting ability. You wanna keep him in the combat, but also make sure that he survives, because if he dies, I would assume you lose all of these boosts. So yeah, interesting ability, very good. Death Spell. It's gonna cost 2, and an additional 2 hero points. The cooldown is 12 seconds. And here's the description. Cinco casts a death spell on an enemy that deals 80, 160, and 240 magic damage over 5 seconds and explodes, dealing an explosion of 350 magical damage. Magic damages, lol. Enemies killed by the explosion will summon a zombie with half of the enemy's stats and walk down the path. Note, he will prioritize the enemy who has the lowest HP. Pretty good. For 12 seconds cooldown, that's a lot of things that you get at once. Not only do you do 240 magical damage to the enemy that has the least health, but also you create an explosion that deals a pretty heavy amount of magic damage, like 350. That's enough to kill a Saurian Brute Guard on Veteran, which is pretty darn good. Not a lot of heroes can kill a Brute Guard with one ability. That's pretty good. And if once you kill them, you're gonna get a bunch of zombies that are gonna walk down the path. Now, they're not stationary, which is kind of problematic for creating choke points, but whatever. You still are getting some extra stalling power out of this ability. So not only do you get a single target damage, area damage, but also some stalling power potentially. Pretty darn useful ability. 9 out of 10. Very good. The Last Stand. Alright, that's the next one. It's gonna cost 2, and an additional 3 hero points. Upon, I don't know why he added upon here, but alright. It's active dead. Active dead. What is that supposed to mean? Let's read through it and we'll analyze it. With the ancient spell, Cinco radiates an aura of dark energy that deals double damage to both enemies and allies, doubling attack speed and invulnerability for 3, 6, and then 9 seconds. Each ally he kills what? Will increase the respawn time by 1 second. Each enemy he kills will decrease by 0.5. Alright. After respawning, he will return to base stats. Alright, so I was right. He does return to his base stats when he dies. Good to know. Also, we have a note. The respawn countdown starts when the skill ends. Alright, the aura damage is true damage, so that's the aura. Interesting. But also kind of confusing, like... So it deals double damage to both enemies and allies. Alright, that's a little bit of a... Like, it's good and bad. Like, sure, doubling the damage that your allies deal and their attack speed is ridiculous, especially if you're using assassins, but... keep in mind that it also works for the enemies. You know, it doesn't specify... It deals double damage to both enemies and allies. Alright, so your units are more vulnerable, but they're twice as good as far as damage department goes. Pretty interesting. I mean, it's a little bit of a questionable ability if you're defending at the very exit. If he dies and he uses this Last Stand ability, you may be screwed, because enemies are gonna be doing a lot of damage. So I'm not quite sure if I like it. Like, it's a good ability, but also it's kind of a bad ability in a way. I don't know how to really explain it. It's definitely interesting, don't get me wrong, but in my opinion, I think he will be better if you leave this ability unupgraded, because it could screw you over, especially if you're in a tight spot. If he dies, your units are technically stronger, but also more vulnerable. Thankfully, it's only for 9 seconds, which is okay. And like how if you kill an enemy, it decreases the cooldown by 5 seconds, but if an ally unit alright, so if an ally unit is killed, the cooldown, the respawn increases. That's... yeah. I think this ability is better to left unupgraded, but alright. I can see it being useful from time to time, but for the most part I think this ability is a little bit meh. And I guess at least the AoE is not that big, so that's at least one positive. Okay, moving on to the last ability, Shield Throwing. It's gonna cost 1, and then 2 hero points. Cooldown of 8 seconds. Cinco throws his shield that bounces 3 times from one enemy to another, dealing 75, 100, and then 125 physical damage. Immune to oh, alright, that's something else. Alright, that's good. So it's like a casual area damage thingy. Sure, it only damages 3 enemies, but it's not bad. That's a total of 375 physical damage every 8 seconds, which is not bad at all. Sure, you may be only able to hit only a handful of enemies, but it's still nice. Not quite sure what the range is though, but alright. I would say it's a good ability. Now, here we have some other things about him. Immune to poison, which is passive, alright. So, yeah, that's what I was worried about, because due to his low HP, I was worried that savage hunters are gonna shred through his health, but apparently he's immune to poison, which is good. Due to being exposed to the villagers' many poisons since childhood, Cinco has become immune to all kinds of potion. Yeah, alright. So any enemy that deals that has the ability to do poison damage, he's not gonna be affected by it. That's a good addition. Alright, now let's see, what do we have? Oops. I skipped a little bit further. Let's get to the quotes. Using the voice of a 14 to 17-year-old boy. My voice is a little bit deep, man. I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna be able to imitate it, but alright. I'll give it a shot. I'm a spellcaster. No one will die upon me. For my dear village, I will battle. I bet no one can do this. I'm taking you down with me. That's when he activates the last stand. I think I'm going to take a nap. When the last stand ends. And here we have the last quote when he responds back. Well, that was a fun dream. Sorry for the awful interpretation, but when you have a deep voice, you can't really imitate young people, unfortunately. Because I cannot draw, I have what is that? I assume this is search. I have searched on the internet, and this is the closest image of him. All right, let's take a look. Ooh, that's actually kind of interesting. I mean, yeah, he said in the story that he transforms back into a kid, so it makes sense that he looks like that. But it's kind of weird now that this kid is gonna talk like a 17-year-old guy. A little bit weird, but okay. No discriminating to short people, whatever. So yeah, he has this spear, pretty interesting. I wonder if he has ranged attacks though. I mean, it's a pretty long spear, so I'd assume he has ranged attacks, but probably no. A pretty nice shield. I really like the design. I'm not quite sure from where he found it, but it looks dope. Not gonna lie, I really like the design. And now here we go with the last one. Please let me know your opinion about this hero. Thank you very much, King Rexy. You're welcome, man. You're welcome. I always love to see some new hero ideas. No matter for which Kingdom Hearts game it is. Although I prefer Origins, but whatever. So, in conclusion, this hero is an interesting one. He doesn't have... His stats are pretty decent. I really like the high regeneration. That's a very nice addition. I love the fact that he has both magic resistance and armor. That's very, very unique. I think none of the heroes have magic resistance, or I think there was some sort of myth before that Thor from the original Kingdom Hearts had magic resistance. I'm not quite sure if that's true or not. I'm pretty sure it's not true, but if it is, then I guess it's not that unique. But let's just assume that that was a fluke. That was a hoax. So I really like the aura. The aura is definitely gonna help out in some situations. The Brutal Strike has to be probably the strongest one because of its variance in damage. Like, it deals physical, magic, and true damage, so it's useful pretty much for any unit. Like, regardless of the armor or magic resistance, you're gonna do a decent amount of damage to that target. And if you kill a strong enemy, you're gonna get some nice stat increases, which are almost permanent. Like, you have no limit, so the longer you keep this guy alive and engage in battle, the stronger he will become. That's pretty good. The Death Spell is definitely very nice. I think that's probably even better than the Brutal Strike because of how many things it can do. Not only does it do single target damage, it also deals area damage, and it also can give you some units to stall for a while. So that's pretty good. Pretty decent ability. The last stand is a little bit questionable though. I don't know if it's gonna be very useful, but I guess it depends on the map. Like, if you're using this hero, I'll definitely not upgrade the last stand if I'm trying out, like, let's say, Sunken Citadel, because this level has barely any land, and if he dies, I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna make it. So, well, maybe if you're doing it on an easy level, like if you're using it on the first or the second area of the game, I would assume that this ability is kind of alright to use. But on very hard levels, especially in the post game, I would not recommend upgrading this skill. And the shield throw is just casual area damage, nothing too out of the ordinary. I like the fact that he's immune to poison, and so far he's pretty good. I'll give this hero probably 8.5 out of 10. Pretty decent. I really like the design of it. He has decent abilities. I think he almost has one of everything, which is very nice. Or actually, maybe he does. Let's just go through this again. Yeah, so he has the support aspect in the with the mana shield. He has the single target damage with the brutal strike. He has the area damage with the dead spell, and yeah, he also has this kind of a support kind of ability when he dies, and the shield throw, which is another area damage. So yeah, he covers every box. You know what? I'll increase the ranking to 9 out of 10. I really like these type of heroes. Heroes that have one of everything are my personal favorites because you don't have to worry about any situation. They're gonna have always one ability ready to be used. So yeah, very good hero design, man. I really like it. He looks pretty cute though, I'm not gonna lie. But you know, he's technically minor, so I'm not gonna say anything else. I don't know how old he is though. That's something that's not specified in the story. He could be like 30 years old when he was fighting this monster thingy, but whatever. Let's not make any comments about his appearance. That's about it, guys. Sorry, it's a little bit late, so my brain is thinking some weird things every now and then when it's late at night. It's about, let me just check. Ooh, 2 AM. God damn. Yeah, the reason why I'm recording this so late is because my power went out and I had to record this a little bit later, which was a little unfortunate, but you know, sometimes that's what you gotta do. And yeah, guys. Well, with that out of the way, that's gonna do it for the video. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I appreciate you for sticking around to the end. Subscribe if you want to see more of this content in the future. And while you're at it, drop a like on the video. It means a lot to me. And I will see you in the next video. Until it comes, that was KingRexy, over and out.